Happy Wednesday, Joyce. I'm so excited to have you here. We've been following along on a lot of each other's work through syndicates, community round, and beyond. And it's just been so remarkable to see you trailblazing in this space of really like the first investment DAOs and what that looked like to actually build a community and a space and an ecosystem now that really is community-led and community-run. So I'm so excited to dive in with you today. And I would love if you would just kick us off with just a bit about who you are and where you're calling in from today.
For sure. Thanks for having me, Alana. It's really great to be here and speaking to a lot of folks in the audience. I'm calling from New York. I'm based in Brooklyn. If anyone's around the neighborhood in downtown Brooklyn, definitely let me know and say hi. A little bit about my background. I guess I've been in crypto full-time since 2017. Really kind of left my traditional finance job and dived right in, full heads on, not really know what I'm getting myself into. Back then, the community was so small, but folks were so nice and they're so welcoming, especially the Ethereum community. That's really how I got my kind of start in crypto.
That's so inspirational, I think, to a lot of people, what gets people started. And that leads kind of to the first question, which we ask everyone, which is, do you remember what your first ever investment was? Could be more traditional or crypto, and really what or who got you started?
What's really amazing about cryptocurrency and kind of the blockchain Web3 communities is that the barrier to getting into an investment or acquiring a token, for example, is very low, right? You can have a MetaMask wallet and you go into an exchange and buy it yourself. So, for me, I think there are two instances where I could share my experience. And first, it's kind of participating in the early Ethereum days and buying and owning a piece of Ethereum when the ICO just happened, and actually understanding and kind of reaching out to the community to learn about them while I own a share and a stake in the network, right? And that was very easy, right? Anyone could do it. And that's what the beauty is for crypto. There's so little barrier as long as you could just download a wallet. And I think when it comes to private investments, which, I think Eve is doing an awesome job at kind of showcasing and opening up for the women community, is that I found many friends. I used to work in finance and tech, so like the intersection of finance and tech, where we were talking to a lot of developers and communities based in San Francisco who were developing really interesting projects and infrastructure for kind of the Web2 space. And then you saw a wave of Web2 folks kind of navigating and migrating to Web3 in 2017, and now even more so in 2022, right? When now we have folks from Facebook and Uber all coming into the Web3 space, which is amazing. But back then we had some really great folks as well who were trying to build the infrastructure layer for Web3, and that's when projects like Layer 1 started, Solana, Near, all the Layer 1s that are really the core of the infrastructure now. So I happen to just know the team who was building Near protocol back then in the very early days, because of our overlap back in Web 2 and how they were building infrastructure layers for Web 2 companies, and now they're transitioning that and kind of sharing those skill sets into Web 3. So that was actually my first investment, which is Near protocol back then, which was pretty amazing. And I felt like I got very lucky, because obviously there's a lot of projects to fail, but Near now is obviously $1 billion company, and the team has really persisted throughout the the volatility.
Absolutely. Yeah, they've grown enormously. Okay, so that is really a great primer and intro to, I think, how and why you got into the space. And I think specifically, I'd love to hear your story of, how did you ultimately get into Seed Club, or was this idea for Global Coin Research pre-Seed Club? And ultimately, how did you kind of get into this idea of tokenizing what is now a massive investment community?
Yeah, for sure. So to give folks a background, GCR or Global Coin Research, we've been around since 2017, ever since I left my job. We started out as a newsletter platform and research platform, just sharing information about cryptocurrency and blockchain to the rest of the kind of the world. And then we evolved over time to not only tack on research, but also have an investment component, because we saw that our community was such high quality folks who had very thoughtful insights that could really be translatable to investing and evaluating projects, right? So in the last 2 years, we evolved and became a research and investment DAO, where it's really bottoms up driven, where community members are the ones dictating, the type of research that they're writing on our platform and the type of investments that we're making in the community. In the past, time as a investment DAO, we deployed about $40 million as a community. And the community actually now is kind of 6,000 members in our Discord strong, which is amazing because now folks are just sourcing deals organically and kind of sharing that with the community directly. And then everyone gets on a call to diligence a company when they are kind of evaluating the team. And after that, everyone pools capital together to actually make an investment, right? So we really found that the community part was very compelling in differentiating ourselves and also in really making this a fun process when it comes to investing, right? Yeah, and we do have a token. Our token is a membership token that allows members to join this collective together.
I love it. I can't wait to dive in a bit more of like how you use that token, how it's been that process of creating the incentive mechanisms for this community. But first, I would love to hear a bit more of what role you feel you play in the wealth space, which can be a really broad definition, including community, actually. And why is it important?
What I like to promote in the wealth space, I would say mission in crypto is really promoting conscientious and thoughtful wealth creation, which means that I think if you're in crypto and Web3, you notice that oftentimes there's just so much noise around different projects, different companies, and there's just so much hype and volatility in the market sense as well as the marketing sense. So what I try to promote in wealth creation is one, creation, which is allowing and democratizing investing for our members who are all accredited investors, but they otherwise wouldn't have gotten access to many of these really awesome projects, and a lot of the value and wealth will be translated and transferred to only the venture capitalists or folks who have large amounts of capital. And then secondly, it's really just about integrity and ensuring that the projects that we invest in and support are aiming to build a really awesome Web3 space, and that what we aim to see.
That's one of the things I think is so special about Global Coin Research, and it's even in the name, right? It's about research, and we often hear this idea of do your own research, but what that actually entails and what that means can be a huge lift. And so the idea of doing that through community and crowdsourcing that research is a really powerful thing. And so I would love to hear, what do you think has been the most exciting thing you've learned that you would want others to know? I think in particular for investors as they're thinking about doing that research for themselves, what have you found to be the most interesting insight that's come out of this, now quite a few year process in 2017 of evaluating projects?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think there are many different learnings. And I think when we're dealing with crypto and kind of a volatile market, there's just so much more mental challenges directly that you need to kind of handle on your own. And that's something that I think is a very new experience when it comes to even if you're doing private venture investing, many times these ventures become tokens very quickly within a year or 6 months. But I think one of the most important learnings I think I got out of evaluating companies and meeting companies on an ongoing basis, for GCR, we evaluate 5 to 10 projects a week, and we meet so many different founders. And when you try to do pattern matching around, who actually might be successful and who will be really making a dent in the space, it's really folks who are passionate. And like when I say passionate, you can really tell the difference of someone who feels super passionate about breaking and solving a problem in the industry versus those who, are here just for the short term, or perhaps just want to make some money. So I think it's very probably common of a learning that you may find from maybe the traditional Web2 venture space. But I think the type of energy and passion that you see in Web3 is also pretty differentiated, yeah.
Absolutely. And is there a person or a company or a protocol even that inspires you in the space, and why?
Yeah, I think there's so many. I think, for example, the one that we are both part of, Syndicate's friends and family cohort. I think Syndicate Protocol is a project that creates, essentially allows and fosters community investing for Web3 communities. And they're a platform that continues to build and continuously try to promote projects that are building on top of them, and kind of support the ecosystem in a way that I feel like has really great mission and vision, but also has done a really great job in just setting and uplifting all of us, right? So I think what we all try to do at GCR also is, uplift the projects that we support in, either financially as an investment or just partners of ours. So I think Syndicate sets a really great example for that.
Absolutely. That concept of, community, not competition, and bringing people together is huge in their ethos. And it's actually how we got to know each other as well, which is awesome. And so what advice would you give to somebody getting started? Say you're thinking about investing in the Web3 space. What advice would you give to somebody, especially with a lot of what's going on in the market right now, recent hacks and things that are compromised, in a place where you may not feel maybe technically that you have the expertise to evaluate the risks?
Yeah, for sure. I would recommend them for sure to check out Eve or GCR, as we're both very open communities that are open to having more members who are interested in investing, who are interested in learning about Web3, and we provide those educational as well as kind of resources overall to help folks get into the space. Oftentimes what we see for investment DAOs is that they're often very closed, and they're, you have to be knowing someone or be part of a secret group or have like lots of money or lots of ETH in your wallet to be able to access anything. And I think that barrier is too high. And what I think Eve and GCR are both trying to do is break that barrier and provide a kind of low, but convenient, but also very rich and kind of full of resources to support folks who are coming into the space. And I think that's super important. And that's something that, I think it's now on us to kind of really do that, or else no one else, people will just feel intimidated.
Yeah, absolutely. And are there any tools or resources that you really love, like Dev Metrics, or things that you would say, hey, this is kind of a cool thing to check out when you're trying to get more information on a new project or a team or a protocol? Anything that are your go-to tools?
Yeah, for sure. We love Nansen. We actually have Nansen workshops on a weekly basis, and we have so many people who chime in and dial in to learn about how to use Nansen and how to understand the different on-chain tracking and analytics and activities. So I think that's a really great tool. The cost is a bit high, but you can definitely try to subscribe to something that's more of a freemium version of it in this current state. But otherwise, I think they're just simply just understanding the basics of coin market cap and having these tools like Apeboard at hand. It just makes it easier for anyone to kind of enter the space and understand what their holdings are.
Absolutely. Yeah, sometimes just starting with the fundamentals and learning the basic transactions and steps you can do on like one specific protocol or blockchain, and then bridging over to like an EVM compatible chain to then test those same things. Like that alone can be super helpful. You know, and there's usually like 5 to 7 actions you can take, at
Yeah.
least right now. And then the rest are just sort of dApps on top. So yeah, I really love that. It's a great resource. And anything else we should know? How can we keep in touch with you personally, your own journey, and then Global Coin Research as you guys are growing and developing and doing all this incredible work?
Yeah, folks who follow me on Twitter, I'm at Joyce in NYC, so very easy. You know that I'm in New York City, and I tell everyone that I am. And I think, Global Coin Research, we have essentially a kind of a freemium and kind of sneak peek type of product that you can just join our Discord and get access to. So some of the educational and the resources and even the deal flow that you may hear about actually are accessible for free, and all you need to do is just join our Discord. And the barrier there is really, what we allow everyone to do is you can invest with $5,000, and it's low. The entry is very low for anyone who's accredited.
We'll absolutely be following along. Thanks so much, Joyce, for the work that you're doing to bring these deals and opportunities and community together. It's super important. So, and thank you for joining us today.